A very good evening to all. It's time for Children's Bedtime Treasury with Let Emotion Speak. Don't forget to like the video, share the video, and subscribe to my channel for more bedtime stories each night. Today's story is about The Mirror of Dreams. Another magical story with another magical lesson. The house on the corner of Nightingale Avenue was tall and very handsome and was by far the largest in the neighborhood. From the street, you could see 4 floors of beautifully decorated rooms, and if you peeped over the railings, you could see the basement below. If you were lucky enough to be asked into the house and pass through the beautiful hallways into the playroom, you might meet the owner's daughter, Cordelia. Sometimes Cordelia would be sitting in her silk pajamas playing on a grand piano, and sometimes should be dressed in the finest velvet gowns playing with her lovely dolls. If you went down the stairs and into the basement, you might come across Polly. Polly's mother was a maid in the house and worked hard all day long to make the house sparkling clean. Sometimes Polly helped her to polish the ornaments and dust the furniture, but more often Polly sat on her own in her small bedroom drawing pictures with some crayons on a drawing pad she had been given for her birthday. When Polly was helping to polish the furniture, she would look longingly at all of Cordelia's fine clothes and toys. And when she sat alone in her room, she would draw pictures of all the beautiful things she would like to own if only she could afford them. One day, a large parcel was delivered to the house and taken upstairs to Cordelia's bedroom. A little while later, Cordelia's maid carried a pretty ornate mirror down from her room and put it with the rubbish waiting for collection outside the house. Polly asked the maid why the mirror was to be thrown away, and the maid explained that Cordelia had been given a new mirror in which to brush her long silky locks and that she didn't need it anymore. The maid then asked Polly if she would like to take the mirror, and of course, Polly accepted with pleasure. It was the most beautiful thing she had ever owned. Polly carried the mirror back to her room and polished it lovingly. As she polished the glass, a strange thing started to happen. The glass went misty and then cleared as her own reflection stared back at her once more. But the reflection that stared back was not dressed in rags and worn old clothes as Polly was, but in a rich gown of the most beautiful cream satin with pink bows and apricot lace. Polly was entranced. She looked almost as beautiful as Cordelia. Her hair gleamed and her fingers were white and magnificent. As she looked further into the mirror, she saw herself dancing at a ball, and then sitting down to eat the finest food she had ever seen: hams and roasted meats and cakes of strawberries and cream. And then the mirror spoke to her. "I am the mirror of dreams," the cool, clear voice said. "Whatever your heart desires, most will be reflected in my shiny surface." Polly was astounded, but so happy. She didn't care that it was only a daydream, for when she saw her reflection in the beautiful clothes, she felt as if she were truly there, dancing and eating the fine foods. She could almost taste the fruit and cream in her mouth. From that day on, Polly sat in her room every day and dreamed and dreamed and dreamed and dreamed. She had never felt so happy before and could not wait to wake up each morning to visit her imaginary world. She certainly didn't understand how Cordelia's could have thrown away such a magical wonder and thought that she could not have known of its enchanting secret. She supposed also that Cordelia could have had no use for such a mirror. For whatever Cordelia wanted in real life, she received it, and would have no need to dream. But Polly was to find out that this was very far from true. Weeks passed, and every day Polly sat and dreamed of velvet cloaks, of diamonds and pearls, of parties and picnics and carnivals. Eventually, she had dreamed every dream she had ever wanted, and Polly began to realize that it no longer made her happy as it once had, and she began to grow weary of her mirror of dreams. She sat in front of the mirror less and less, and eventually, when she did visit the mirror, she could not think of a single thing that would make her happy. Even the dreams she had in which her mother wore fine silk clothes and didn't have to scrub and clean for their living could no longer make her happy. She preferred her real mother who came to kiss her good night and read her stories no matter how tired and overworked she was. Eventually, she stopped looking in the mirror altogether and finally decided to throw the mirror away. It had only made her more unhappy. As the long winter turned into spring, she acted upon her decision and took down the mirror to throw away with the rubbish. But as she looked into the glass, it misted over in its familiar way, and she saw herself in the mirror as she looked in real life. But in it she was playing with other children like herself and reading stories with them and sharing toys. She felt gloriously happy and knew in that instant that all she wanted was a very good friend. She realized in that moment too that perhaps Cordelia really had known the mirror's secret, but that she also had become more unhappy as the dreams faded and reality forced itself upon her. She wondered aloud what it was that Cordelia had dreamed of, and for the second and last time, the mirror spoke in its clear, cool voice. The mirror of dreams showed Cordelia her heart's desire, and her heart desired a true friend and companion. Someone who is not jealous of her wealth, but a friend who will share her hopes and dreams, with whom she can have parties, games, and picnics. Polly put the mirror down and thought with amazement that she could be that friend if Cordelia would be friends with someone poor but honest and true. Polly left the mirror with the household rubbish and was about to make the descent back to the basement when she saw Cordelia standing in the garden at the back of the house. Cordelia had seen her discard the mirror and shyly walked up to Polly. Polly overcame her shyness too and went to meet Cordelia, and then she told her they shared the same dream. Cordelia and Polly became the best of friends from that day on. They shared everything they had, no matter how much or little it was. They talked and laughed together all day long, and they played long into the evening. They didn't have to dream anymore, for they both had got their true heart's desire, true friendship. Hope you enjoyed this story. It's time to say goodbye and good night.